Mrs. Clinton not only ran against Bernie Sanders tonight, she also unloaded a couple of times on those guys on the other side of the aisle, the Republicans. Here's one of those moments.
We've got to do everything we possibly can not to let the Republicans rip away the progress and turn us backwards. That would be such a loss for our country. We need to build on it and go further.
Karl Rove is a Fox News contributor. He served as senior advisor to President George W. Bush, as well as the president's deputy chief of staff. Good to see you, Karl. So if you listen to Hillary tonight, you really, well, A, you would have thought the Republicans are going to be very bad for the country. But B, you would have thought that she is very much looking forward to working with them cooperatively to get things done.
Yeah, sort of inconsistent, but look, that was a sideshow, though. The main focus of her comments tonight was continuity. I'm gonna build on the legacy of Barack Obama. She wrapped herself as close as she could to him. In fact, at one point said the whole purpose of this, she said, of her campaign was to win the White House, to continue this legacy. On the other hand, Bernie Sanders summed it up in one sentence. He said, my campaign is about a political revolution. And therein lies her problem in Iowa and New Hampshire. On the one hand, she's the candidate of continuity. He's the candidate of change. I promise you a revolution. It's one of the reasons why she's doing so poorly among younger Democrats, because they're more attracted by a guy who says, let's go have a revolution, as opposed to somebody who says, let's have continuity.
You get the sense listening to her, and actually a lot of Democrats sometimes, that they cannot believe what's happening with the burn. That subject also came up tonight. Listen.
Here you are again, another election, but another nail-biter,
right,
with a self-described socialist named Bernie.
Right.
How did that happen?
Look, it's a great country, despite what one of the Republicans says. It's a great country, and we are all on the Democratic side having a spirited debate about the issues we care about. The other side is not talking issues, they're talking insults.
Your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was smart on her part not to answer the question, but instead to go back and take a slam at the Republicans. But when she opens it up with that cackle, with that really weird cackle, I think this is why people have a sense of her not being honest and trustworthy. All the national polls show that about 60% of the American people do not think she's honest and trustworthy. And I think part of it is just her demeanor. When she lets out for those cackles, we know that's a sign that she's not going to answer the question. She's not going to be straightforward with us.
It's sort of a nervous laughter where you're sort of buying time maybe to think of what you're going to say. And these are hard questions in her defense, but, you know, I guess the really truly skilled politicians like her husband, they're on it. She was asked a little later about Republicans and really talked about how she's going to work with them. She talked about how whenever I'm running, they hate my guts. I'm the worst thing ever. Whenever I'm actually in office, I'm great. They can work with me. We have cooperative relationships. Any truth to that?
Well, look, when she got elected in 2000 and faced a Republican president in the White House, and the Democrats had for a brief period of time a majority in the Senate, she did try and work across the aisle because she was thinking that in 2004 she could potentially run for president and maybe run as a candidate who could unite the country. Then came 9/11, and George Bush was the candidate who united the country, and she put off her ambitions. In the second term, after 2004 election, in the 2004 election and afterwards, she turned into a much more heavy partisan, particularly as she decided, I'm going to be able to run in 2008, and I need to win the hearts and minds of the Democratic Party. Again, this is one of her problems. She's been on the stage for 40-some-odd years, and we've seen her. And one of the things that the American people have concluded is she will say and do anything to get elected. And when in the run-up to the 2004 election, when she thought she might be a candidate, and it was to her advantage to develop a reputation as working across party lines, she was on the Armed Services Committee, for example, she did it. And when she decided it was going to be, to her advantage to become a strident partisan, she did it. She was against things that 8 years ago that today she's in favor of, and this is her, the overwhelming ambition, at the heart of it a liberal, but somebody willing to say and do anything in order to get elected.
You know, the problem with American politics today, many would say, is that describes most of the people who actually run for the presidency, right? You have to have overwhelming ambition for sure, but so many of these guys,
I mean, you always have to have
as somebody who's
ambition.
preparing right now for another presidential debate, so many of these guys say one thing and then they reverse themselves to win.
I would say two things. One is you better have ambition to run for president. Otherwise, you're not going to get the job. But second of all, yeah, granted, there's a little bit of that. But most people try and be consistent because they are consistent. It really takes a calculating personality to do the kind of things that Hillary Clinton has been saying and doing. And we saw it on the emails. Well, once again, we got the explanation that was all allowed and blah, 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 blah. We've heard that all before, and it doesn't ring true.
Well, the emails came up tonight, and Shannon Coffin has been watching that. He's been following the whole email situation. We'll have him. Karl, it's great to see you.
You bet.